Hello YouTube. Today, I'd like to discuss some pros and cons of Genshin, or just some things that's going bad, some things that's going good, things that could change, ideas and change, things like this may or may not end up being a long video, in which case I apologize in advance, but I do hope this message spreads around because I haven't really found this exact message anywhere else yet. Or maybe I'm just bad at searching. And so let's get started. So here's the loop, right? There's this constellation. Accidentally, completely by luck, just keeps dropping whatever. And that's the biggest issue, right? Like, the game is actually really good. You have so much to explore. There is so much, like, fun combat, content, events, story, new continents, all kinds of greatness. Just really good game. Amazing, honestly. The world is just level. And NPCs and things feel pretty lifelike. I mean, this is essentially a single player mode, but you can co-op, although it's limited in some aspects. I feel like they should change the limitness of co-op. Let people go all out. There are some problems, like maybe don't let people chests from other players if it's per world, pick up oculi or whatever. But generally speaking, the game it just works really well. This map. Save. So why did I bring up the loop? Constellations, though, as good as this world is, right? There is this thing called wishing system. And I don't think this thing is very fair. They definitely need to change this. I wanted to talk about resin first, but let's do it this way. So wishes are... Let's see. Wishes are like this. They say there's a 50% chance of getting these. That's just if they drop. What is the chance of them actually dropping? Well, the 5-star items are very low. And the pity is 90. All this juiciness here, right? And this is a limited banner, so if you miss this, it's gone for maybe ever or until they rerun it, and that could take years or months or whatever. So there's like this FOMO, fear of missing out, that comes along with this kind of thing, and it's essentially a gambling system, right? You're basically putting money into a thing that hopefully your wishing system here hopefully gets you what you want. Not a greatest system. If they want to do it like this because it's completely free to play, make the pity smaller, make it 60, 50, 70. 90 is a bit ridiculous. I'm gonna go into why a bit, but let's just digest this a little bit. So this is a bit ridiculous. The whole percentage of getting it is also a bit ridiculous. And the fact that if you miss it, it's gone potentially forever. These always go into the standard band characters that are 4-star. So there is also a standard banner, right? If you look at the details here, the 5 stars never change. Here's, by the way, the loot. Just keeps dropping. He drops on any banner. Get him from limited banner because limited banner does not guarantee, except for every second time you get a 5-star. It guarantees you a 50-50 chance of getting the promotional character or any one of these non-promotional characters. And then on the second time, it guarantees that if it does drop, you're guaranteed that it will be the promotional character, but still with that 0.06 chance of getting it. Anyway, there's a ton of videos on how like bad this thing is, so we don't need to go too much about it. There's a ton of better content creators that go over all these details in much more detailed fashion, explain all of this. I only needed to bring this up basically this purpose. These are essentially things that should exist here. Instead of me constantly getting copies of a character I may or may not want and having to play with chances and luck and whatever, I should be able to just at least get it here. Maybe this is still not the ideal solution. Ideal solution is to make direct buy on the character, right? Make me like pay, I don't know, 20-30 bucks for a character, another 20 for a weapon. It actually comes out cheaper than the $200 that it usually takes to get a single character. And that's why they'll never do it, because they want people to spend $200. As greedy as that is. This is where the really ugly side of Genshin shows, right? Developers are really greedy. I mean, they will at least give you these 4-star characters randomly, but this currency can only be obtained by getting 4 and 5-star drops, including duplicates. Duplicates give you more of this currency, so essentially you still have to use the wishing system and gamble a bit, and you can get more of this. But if they at least made a 5-star available, and okay, let's say it's 50, right? Let's say it's 50 of these instead of 34 or 24, whatever, 50. Weapon could be 40, character could be 50, but they should put 5 stars at least here, because then you don't have to do it, you know, through the wishing system if you don't want to. You just have these saved up, you just go here. But they never do this. They never put any 5-star item here, ever. Terrible. They really should, but they never do. And that's one of the bigger issues, right? For example, they let you do this as a direct buy, but these are not characters, these are just outfits. Standard outfit, and you basically pay. This is not
I
even
wonder when I'll be
$16.
as
We'll go
tall as
into
my
this
big
later too.
sister.
This is just a costume. And they could really let us do it. Now they could just let us buy whatever currency they want and just let us direct buy an item like this. And then the free-to-plays, or the people with pity, or people who like to do it through the wish system, can still do it that way. Because, as I was bringing this up before, each character has a constellation, and unless you're really randomly lucky, 5-star characters, which are these golden ones, basically have no way of getting their constellations unless by dumb random luck chance, you know, like it happens sometimes if you get a constellation one or two of them or whatever. Here's Venti. So constellation, that's just him dropping duplicate amounts of times. That's all it is. And
The Knights of Favonius with you next time.
it's not exactly a fair system, but that constellation bit could incentivize using this and still dropping $2 or whatever. You know, but at least you can get the character as a direct buy. That's something. It won't be, you know, it's... And then I guess there's still a danger, right? Okay, if you do it that way, what's stopping them from making this constellation bit so strong that it basically incentivizes you? Otherwise, the character is really bad and useless. I mean, then you know, you need the constellation, so you're still gonna try to draw for the character to get her like a copy in there. And sure, I think constellations should also go into the direct buy option, but like I think for weapons they let you do like 3 and that's it. But here's the problem. This is not the case. The system doesn't exist. And there's still really strong constellations that they try to sell to you. I mean, ignoring 60% of opponent's defense is a lot, right? Like you can see like clear direct massive boost to damage from getting this character, and you have to get this before this. You don't choose. Must activate the previous one to activate this one. So you need 2 of these. And with the way pity works, let's say you're never lucky, no matter what, and you always hit pity. That's and also there's a 50-50% chance that every second draw is not the right character. Or every first draw, well, every second draw is the right character, every first draw is not it. So 1 out of 2 times you might get a completely different 5-star like Diluc and get his constellation. So what happens is you spend what, like $200 per one of these? So that's 400, right? No, I mean it's just too greedy, you know. It shouldn't be this way. Especially because this game is still a game and it's really, really good. Now, that's just for, oh, well, it's character collecting, it's optional, you don't have to have anything. And this is true. This is actually where it's true. You will never have constellations if you don't wish, but you have a lot of events and a lot of ways to collect Primo Gems and still wish for free and collect characters that way. And you don't have to collect characters. They actually give you a really solid team from the start of 4, 5, or even 6 maybe free characters you can just get right away. They even give you a beginner banner you can wish on, specifically for new accounts. It has a higher drop chance for really good characters and a much reduced cost, and they also give you enough to wish on it like 20 times. Well, you can only do 20 before it disappears, but they give you enough to do that for free completely. And you can get anybody. You can get 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever. That banner, that very limited banner. So okay, and it's completely free to play, right? And
I
it's
still
really
have a lot
good.
to do
It's
at the
like
guild.
a really
How about you
satisfying
take a rest while I
experience.
go back?
And the other crucial thing is, unlike most games that are both, well, they're usually mobile. It's kind of a recent thing that they're also on PC, right? Developed separately as a PC thing. This game is proper game. It won't, like other mobile games do, it won't actually hard lock you out of any progression. You'll be able to perform, improve your characters, their levels, their talents, their weapons. You'll be able to get all of these things, and you'll be able to get really good versions of these things, and you're never gonna get into a wall or a block or just progression stop until you spend some money. This never happens. This game lets you progress as a free to play from 0 to 100 completely. Doesn't stop you at all. Like, it's quite amazing. You can do the whole story, all the side content, all the events, everything. And that's the part that I respect about it, right? I do actually respect that aspect. Basically, all of this is just for people who want to wail even a little bit or just get these characters. This is just like the want over the need. You don't need any of these things to perform amazingly well, do everything, and be just great all the time. And yet people do want to collect them, and so at least I want to say for those people seeing how this game is completely free to play, they should at least add the one character, right? And maybe the danger of constellations being even crazier is there, and hopefully if they ever do it, they ever do put characters like that in that shop, they don't trick us with constellations, with duplicate boosts. That's just terrible. Um, I do want to point this out, because if you go to details, there is something interesting here. It's not promotion, yeah, it's not guaranteed, yeah, so look at carrots obtained, whether obtained in a wish, redeemed at a shop, or awarded by the game. So this line here is about duplicate characters in general, but you see on obtaining a 5-star character that you already own, whether obtained in a wish or redeemed at the shop. So there is either a plan for it, or maybe different regions do have this instead, which is the much better system. Or they just forgot to remove this line and they never added any kind of shop or any kind of character to any shop ever. But this exists here, and this tells me they are completely, like, painfully aware that these 5-star characters should be as a direct buy in some kind of a shop. Even if it's that, um, even if it's this currency that can obtain from getting 4 and 5-star items from banners, you know? I mean, that line is there for all the banners, even the weapons. And yet we don't see any shop with anything like that. We do see only the 4 stars, which also have a line about it being in the shop. So there's that. Now to bring me to my next point that I said I would discuss later. We go back to the shop. Here's the really greedy part. Most games at least give you better rates, better pity, and at the same time respect your wallet. I know that those games usually also block off or wall off your progression entirely, and this game doesn't do it. It lets you free to play forever. But if you do happen to spend money, right, it's 60 to 100. This is pretty greedy, and I know other games do this too. But there are games who have a better conversion rate, where they give you more for the dollar, right? And you can see it kind of translate across the board. So one big issue is the Genesis crystals are overpriced. You should be able to spend 100 cents for 100. If you're gonna ask for $5, you should get 500, right? Because that's 500 cents. It should be 1 cent per crystal. And you can see this trend continues. It's not the case at all. Here you're doing 30 for 20, 15 for 10. The little bonuses or whatever, they barely count. So 50 for 32, 99 for 64. And I mean, they give you like this bonus, so it's really 99 for 80. And here it's 50 for 38, 39. This is bad. It should convert 100 to 100. And then the bonus should apply on top, so you should be getting almost 1200 here every time if you do want to spend this kind of. And you should be getting a bonus here. Oh, yeah, sure, you get bonuses everywhere, but you should, like, the bonus in its current state is barely there, and it doesn't even cover what this cost should cover. It's just really bad. They need to change these prices to make more sense. And I don't understand them either. They constantly want us to do surveys, they constantly add surveys, and I don't know about other people, but I constantly tell them this, but I never see anything change or anything mentioned about it.
Really
So
bring
why
the Knights of
constantly send the
Favonius
surveys
with
if
you
you know
next
what
time.
we're gonna say and it's gonna go and get ignored, you know? Why the surveys? I tell them this all the time, I think. Every survey, I'm like, you need to change your pricing, the pricing model is bad, you need to put direct buy-in because gambling is just terrible, it's not a good way to do things, and free-to-plays can still do it, and whales can still do it, but let's, you know, give us the decency of at least having the first copy as a direct-to-purchase. At least. And then we have this other thing, and it's the resin system. This thing is also pretty terrible. Let's explain how this works. So each enemy you kill on the map, if we go to any random enemy, but you can look them up. They're not hard to know. Enemies. Oh, you know what's a good place? This place is a good example of this. I could edit this footage, but I'll think about it. So far, it's pretty straightforward anyway. Each one of these items, but this will all make sense in a second, but each one of these items you pick up, it'll take a day or 2 days, real world, real life days. So we're talking 24, 48, sometimes 72 hours between the replenishes on these items, right? I'm just picking up random, basically grass or whatever. They have like a real world countdown to them. And I can pick up all these things, and I need all these things in order for them to be used as materials to upgrade characters. For example, let's say she needs like whatever this is, dandelion seed, some people need flowers, lamb grasses, all that stuff, right? And they also need items that are usually dropped by enemies or kill enemies. So, none of this costs any of that resin that I mentioned, but if you kill them, it'll take you maybe like 12 hours or something to come back to life. You know, like I can kill them, grab their loot, and they will drop it. And not always, but they will usually drop something. But it has to, you know, there has to have been some time pass for them to replenish themselves. To come back to life essentially, because they won't be here for many hours after they're killed. And that's you know, this is the resin free. There is no resin cost here. Here's some of the items they drop. From arrowheads, whatever arrowheads. They drop these items, you collect them, and you can continue searching the map for more. If you really need arrowheads for some character or another, right? And there you go, right? You kill them, you collect your stuff. You have a pretty big map. These are basic enemies, they're everywhere, they're not hard to farm. But there are more complex enemies that are harder to farm. And you're gonna wait for those, and they're gonna take a while, recharge, and you're coming back. You can track them on your book. You got like enemy, you have to kill so and so. And there's an exception to this rule, right? You have this, for example, weekly boss, right? They have started doing a thing recently where your first 3 bosses from the weekly bosses, there's like 5 at least, I think, right now. There used to be only 3 of the weekly boss kinds. They cost 60, but your first 3 are 30, so it cut in half. Right, so you can actually do like all 3 in one day now, instead of waiting for this to replenish for like several days, which also is a problem. This replenishes slowly. These things cost a lot. And then you have non-weekly bosses, which also cost a bunch. 40, I mean 40 is a lot. And they also drop essential materials that are needed. And again, you're gonna spend 40 and wait for that forever to recharge, and it can't go past 160. These bosses, however, their timer is like 2 minutes and they're back up, so you can kill this thing every 2 minutes because it costs resin, because resin is replenishable, because you can pay these, but if you don't have these, because you're free to play, you don't have that many of these. You have to be wise with them. You'll use these. These are also obtainable by free to plays, and you can get a lot of these from by being a free to play player. Every quest, every chest, everything gives a little bit. But you can also buy this with money. So you see, like, the greed is transparent. If you can use money to fight something, even though you don't necessarily have to use money, if the option of using money to fight something is available, therefore the thing has to be able to recharge itself in a few minutes so that the person who's playing to fight these can do it by the hundreds if they want, except they have to replenish energy because we don't give enough energy to fight a lot of these. So essentially all of the game's grind is cut into 2 halves. The half that you can do without resin and the half that you have to do with resin. And every character, take the new character for example, requires both. Here's the no resin cost, free to play, friendly stuff. You know, you just kill some enemies to collect this, collect some flowers as I demonstrated earlier. And then these. These require you to fight a boss. Thunder Manifestation is just the name of the boss, and he might even drop one of these, but his main thing is you gotta collect this, and you gotta get 20 of them for this last one, but you gotta have 12 here, 8 here, 4 here, 2 here. Right, so you combine those numbers into how many of this you need. The boss costs 40 resin.
Should we really be up?
And he's right here. Here he is. He can drop all these things, including this, but this he can drop either 2 or 3 of it. So you can get 2 or 3 at a time. Do you understand that now you have to fight it maybe more than 10 times, unless he's very generous and you're very lucky and you get 3, always 3. I think 30 might be close to enough. But yeah, so 10 times. And that's, you know, 400 resin. Do you get 160 resin max? You're gonna wait like a few days, almost a few days for this to fully refill. I think it's like many hours for it to go from 0 to 160 if you don't want to use refills or anything. So you can maybe fight this boss in an entire week of playing Genshin. Maybe you could get 10. You could maybe get 10, but it'll take you an entire week. You can't just, you know, it's like a 2-minute fight, and you cannot just go and just do it to your heart's content. Do you have enough of whatever you want to have enough of? And domains like these, oh wait, that's the wrong. Like this, also have a similar thing. They just cost 20. instead of 40. So you can do a bit more of these. And you'll be able to get some drops. And I mean, each area depends on your world level, so there is an incentive to make your rank higher. But that also means making your character stronger because the enemies become stronger, because the world level becomes stronger, but the drops are more consistent and better. So you would have to farm a thing less often to get what you need, basically. My solution to this is simple. This is garbage. This does not belong in a real game. They need to throw this entire resin system out the garbage and just never use it. You log into your game, you know what? You wanna do something, there is no more resin cost. You can just do this by the hundreds. You can just take an hour out of your day and just run this forever if you want. Same thing for bosses. And same thing for weeklies. And because they're once a week, I don't even see why they cost any resin. You can only do this thing once a week. What's the point of even resin having a cost there? Just to slow you down even more? Just to gate you more? Why? What's the point? It's really bad. It's really greedy, this resin system. They want you to use up as much resin as possible so that you're incentivized at least a little bit to use primo gems, which are the paid currency that you can get from crystal conversion. So you pay for crystals, you convert to primo gems. Basically, it's like a triple currency thing, but it's all just real money. All just real money. Now, so they'll never do that, even though this thing is terrible and needs to be deleted out the existence. They'll never do it. So the compromise solution is to make everything permanently cost half. This shouldn't be 20, this should be 10. Then these bosses could be 20, whatever. Weekly bosses should just have no resin cost. This is a weekly boss. I can still do it for 60. They should have no resin cost. They should be just free fights. So if everything's down by half, if resin is cut on by half on all of these, maybe make it recharge a bit faster, maybe make this limit like a 200 limit. And then people will basically not really be incentivized at all to replenish it because they'll have enough of it for everything. And then it'll show how kind of dumb it is to have a resin system that you never really need to pay attention to because you have enough of it to do whatever you want. It'll still eventually run out though, and there are some people who want to grind like crazy. But again, this would just target the people you want to target, the whales. Let normal people have normal experiences, you know, doing it that way. So that's the resin system. That's the resin system. That's how the bosses work. Grinding, the wishes system, like all that stuff. All that stuff needs to change, honestly. And because there are going to be competitors coming out soon, maybe they should seriously look at making these changes. And then this game really will stand out like nobody's business. There will be very little that can compete with something like this if it makes those changes a reality. I can't think of anything else, but I can always make another video if there is something else to talk about. But these are just the more glaring topics that I wanted to mention. So, I'll see you guys next time.